What's up everyone, Mike here from The Art of Guitar, here to teach you a concept that if you get it, it can make playing 3-note per string scales super easy. And it takes a little bit of getting to know the general rules at first, but once you really cement them, it really flows. But it can seem confusing at first, but just stick with me, I think you'll catch on. So here's what we have. We have 3 different shapes that we're going to map out across the neck. Shape number 1 looks like this. Shape number 2 is similar, except now we're going to use the fingers 1, 3, 4. And shape number 3 is the big shape. It's going to be skipping a fret each time, and it's actually going to be 3 strings wide. I use my 1st, 2nd, and 4th fingers. Some people use their 1st, 3rd, and 4th fingers. It just depends what's more comfortable for you. So those are the 3 shapes, but there's a few rules you got to remember to really utilize these shapes. One is that they follow a pattern. If you're on shape 1, the next shape will be shape 2, then it'll be shape 3. Then it goes back to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just continues like that. If you're on shape 2, the next shape will be 3, then 1, and so on. So you can kind of see it's always going to cycle the same direction. Now we have to talk about the B string compensation. Sounds confusing, but it's not. If you take the first shape and you start on the 3rd string and then go to the B string, the 2nd string. As some of you guys know, the B string is tuned differently than the other strings. So you have to compensate for that difference by moving up half a step. So even if it's mid shape, you have to move up, all right? The next rule is that after the 3rd shape, which is the big fat one, when you go to play the 1st shape after that, you have to move up a fret to start the 1st shape, okay? Some people, after they're doing the 3rd shape, think they could just go here and play the 1st shape. It's not right. You have to move up a fret for that to work. And the final rule is sometimes you're not going to start off with a complete shape, and that can throw you off. For example, there's a major scale that we're going to play today that as you start it off, it looks like you're playing the 3rd shape, and you are. But you're actually starting on the 2nd string of that shape. So we're already done with that shape, just in this case. So the next shape's going to be the 1st shape. Remember that little rule we just talked about, move up a fret. And there's shape number 1. So you're not always going to start at the beginning of a shape. Sometimes you'll be in between and have to start from there and work your way out. But you'll see, you'll catch on really quick, and you just use your ear for most of that. All right, so let's start off at the 6th string, 5th fret with our middle finger, and that's going to be the A note. That's our root note. Now, if you played up the major scale, some of you guys have a little experience just playing the major scale, you know the sound of it. All right, so all you really need are a couple of strings to get you started, and then you see the patterns emerging. Okay, so what pattern do you see here? Hopefully you said shape number 1, because you'd be right. Now, even though we're starting with our middle finger, the note that's right behind it is part of that scale, so I just put it there to remind you that that's there, okay? But it really opens up the shape so you can really see it. Okay, so here we go. Shape number 1. So what comes next? Shape number 2. Okay, shape number 2's done. Let's go to shape 3. But we're going to be hitting the B string now, 2nd string. So what you need to do is compensate. So we can't just go here and start to play the 3rd shape. We have to move up a fret and then start the 3rd shape. And as you can tell, we ran out of space. There's no extra string. If there was, we would finish that 3rd shape, but we don't have to because it's not there. So we only have to play as far as we can, and then we're done. All right, let's go back and start over and really see these shapes. So shape number 1. Into shape number 2. Compensate for that B string, shape number 3. And you just played A major, 3-note per string all the way across. You can go backwards too. So there's the end of shape 3, shape 2, shape 1. You can add and then come back. Totally fine. Okay, if you were able to get through that shape, all the rest of them will make sense as long as you implement all those little rules that we had earlier. So let's go somewhere else and try this concept. Let's start on the same note, but let's start with our pinky this time. So we're going to be playing back here a little bit more. Well, if you start out here, you end up with this shape. Tell me what it is. Hopefully you said the second shape. As you can see, the fingerings are 1, 3, 4. So we have this. And if you dipped underneath the root note and just played the shape, all those notes are in the scale as well. So as we progress, what's going to be next? Hopefully you guys said the third shape. So yep. Now we can't just finish the third shape like we want to. We have to compensate for that B string. And that's the end of the third shape. If we didn't have to compensate for B, it'd be so easy because we would just go. But you hear how it sounded funny, so we do have to. Okay, now what are we on? We haven't had this issue come up quite yet. We're at the end of the third shape, now it's the first shape. But remember that rule, the first shape actually starts 1 fret higher. And we can only play half of the first shape because we run out of strings again. So that's the end of that scale. Now third shape. Compensated. Now first shape. Backwards, first. The big third. The second. I love coming back up to the root note just so it satisfies the ear, because you're like, okay, that's where we started. All right, let's do one more, just to really drive the point home. And we'll still start on the same spot, but we're gonna now start with our index finger. Here's where we get that weird anomaly where you're not starting at the beginning of a shape necessarily all the time. So here's what we have. And that's the end of this particular third shape, okay? Now, a lot of people try to complete the third shape, you end up with a weird sound. You can tell it's not the major scale. Hear how weird that sounded? Your ear wanted to hear this. That's what we're used to for major scale. So as you can see, we're already at the end of the third form. Once we get here, we move up 1 fret, we get to the first shape. Now we go to the second shape, but we're about to hit the B string, so we have to compensate. And that's the end of that one. This is a great scale, what's known as the shred scale, or the red form that we call it on the website. It's a good exercise just because it's very symmetrical as you play up. All right, let's start again. All right, we're going to the first shape, so we have to move up a fret. B string compensation, and play the second shape. Now we started at the same starting spot the whole time, all 3 times, right? But we played 3 different shapes completely, and we were able to cover a lot of ground. We covered all the way here, all the way up to here. So that's a lot of real estate when it comes to the guitar neck. My challenge to you guys is to do the same 3. Start with your pinky, start with your middle, start with your index finger, except do it all the way here on the 5th string, 12th fret. And you're going to cover all this ground over here. And the whole neck's going to become a fun playground for you to try this shape idea, okay? All right, so just to review, if you were really to go off now and just start improvising down here, you'd start with your pinky. You would see, hopefully, the second shape. Into the third shape. First shape. Then go to your middle finger starting at that root note. Start off, first shape. Second. Compensate for that B string. Third. Or as much of the third as you can play. Okay, then we go to our first finger. We start off, remember, we're already inside of the third shape. Bring up that finger and play the first shape. Compensate for the B string, second shape. So once again, my challenge to you is to do what we did down here, except way up here at the 12th fret of the 5th string as your starting point. And then you'll find, oh, second shape, third shape. You're going to see everything up here. It's going to be a little different just because you're starting in a new place. But you'll see all the patterns emerge. If you start with your middle finger, oh, first shape, second shape, and so on. Third shape, first, second. All right, good luck. Let me know if you're able to grasp this, and we'll catch you at the next lesson. Thanks.